All right, good morning, guys and gals. This is John with Upstate Buzzworthy Bees. Today we're gonna do a mite check on our hives, and I figured I'd share the process as I go along. To be honest, this is the first time I've ever done this or tried it this way, so please bear with me. I'm learning as well, so be easy on me. So first, I want to share what we're using to be able to perform the job, the tools you're going to need, the things that I have. So first off, I have a brush. I bought it from a local hardware store. It's actually for beekeeping. This will be used to brush the young bees off the brood comb into the box. Obviously, then we have a container that we can brush the bees into. I have a measuring cup that we can use to measure the amount of bees needed to perform the test. For the test that I'm performing, you're going to need around 100 milliliters of alcohol, 92% or higher, and then a half cup worth of bees, which I think they said is somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 bees. So, also we have the wash tool, I guess you could say, a container jar that's used to perform the test. It's basically 2 mason jars with a wire mesh barrier that keeps the bees separated from the mites that fall off. So this is something we made easily. It's just 2 lids with the mesh glued in, and then the lids are glued together with super glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the one to put the bees in. Once I get the bees in here, then I will put it on, and then we can shake and see what we got. And also we have our quick strips, mite away quick strips. This is what we're going to use if we have any mite problems. I've found from what I've read, they're the safest thing to use year round, whether you have honey supers on, summer, spring, fall. These things will work at any time of the year, so that's why I chose to use them. The temperatures have to be for 7 days straight, no lower than 50 and no higher than 90, and then they are put on top of the brood chamber. And it looks like we're going to have ideal temperature conditions here in upstate New York to perform these if needed now. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the top 2 chambers. We know that the brood nest should be down here in the bottom. There's no need to go through the whole entire hive. We're not going to do a whole hive inspection today. That would just take way too long. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the top 2 boxes off. As you can see, I've got a bottom board set up over here. That way I can take those top 2 boxes, place them over here, and then just work that bottom brood nest. The goal is to get in and get out as fast as possible with as little disturbance as needed. So as I said before, this is my first time, so bear with me, and hopefully we can go through these motions together and see what we got. I propped this up with a rock and a piece of wood just so you guys could see, so I'm going to take that out now, so I'm ready to rock and roll once I get things uncovered. Now, like I said, you want to take from the brood nest, because the idea behind this is that newly hatched bees are the bees that are going to have the highest count of Varroa. If you know about Varroa form and grow within the brood. So to get the best reading, you want to check the bees that have just recently hatched, because those will be the ones that have the Varroa mites. So we're just going to set this here and this here, make sure this is flat. Preparation is key. I always try to make sure I'm prepared. 90% of the time I forget something or fumble around like a fool. So, like I said, bear with me. We got our smoker going. We're going to give them a little smoke. It's still early in the morning. It is a beautiful morning, but they're probably still getting warmed up and starting to take flight. So there's probably still a good number of bees in here. All right, let's see what we got. I am going to take the top off so it's easier to handle that when I transfer it to that other bottom board. Hopefully I'll be able to lift both of these boxes together. I know. And the roar begins. What are you doing? Get out of here, they're saying. It is heavy. Very heavy. I know. Make sure they get a little more smoke. And for you guys that are new to beekeeping, what a smoker does is a smoker basically triggers the bees into a panic to where they start eating honey thinking that there's a wildfire, so they're going to start eating the honey so that if need be they can take off and still have food stores if their hive is destroyed by a fire. So that's just a little fact behind why the smoker works. It doesn't necessarily calm the bees, as people say. And that is heavy. It may have been smarter to do one at a time, but like I said before, we learn as we go. Alright, so they're not happy, nor would I be. Alright, let's give these guys a little smoke. And one found my rear end, as always. This coat rides up too high, and they always seem to find a way to get me. Ay. Thanks, guys. This year we bought bees from a different location. Like I said, this is our second, third year of raising bees, and unfortunately we've had to buy bees quite a few years in a row because of the mistakes we've made. But long story short, this year we bought bees from a different location, and these bees seem to be fairly feisty. The 2 years prior, the bees were nowhere near as aggressive as these ones are, and it's not because they're not queen right or something else wrong. It's just these bees are more aggressive. So I'm definitely not a fan of that, but I gotta admit they seem to be doing much better than the other colonies that we've had in the past. This was a 5-frame nuke that we bought this spring, and as you can see, I've got 3 deeps on here that they've already filled up, so they're definitely doing a great job. And I think you need some level of aggression in the bees. That way they can protect the hive and they're able to fend off predators and other things that happen. If you've got bees that have no care in the world, I mean, how are they going to protect the hive and thrive? So that's something I always thought was interesting. Obviously we want to have nice calm bees so they're easy to work with, but we also want bees that are able to fend off any predators. Alright, so we're trying to work our way in here. They've got this pretty stuck in here, so it's making it hard. Alright. And you also want to have a box handy to put these frames in as you pull them. Alright, so we're going to set this. This is capped honey, as you can see. It's a beautiful frame. That's not what we want for checking for Varroa. Alright. You always want to start from the outside as well, because the odds of the queen being on that outside frame are very slim. That way you don't roll her as you take out those frames. So it's best to always start from the outside, get yourself some room, and then work in. That way you have the least chance of rolling that queen. Because when they get filling things up like this, things are tight. The house is cramped. They stick everything together. Alright, let's see what we've got here. Looks like we've got another frame of capped honey. I might be wrong, the brood chamber might be higher up than I expected. Lots of pollen, beautiful setup here. You got pollen, and then you've got that ring of honey. Beautiful. And like I said, we're not looking for the queen. You can if you want. Obviously, I want to observe things as I go, but I want to stay focused on the task at hand. I don't want to get sidetracked. I want to make sure I'm going in with a purpose and know what I'm going to do. That way I can get in and out. There we go. I see some eggs now, or some capped brood, excuse me. All right, come on. Let's see. Oh boy. So that's not good. As you can see, we've got a whole pile of swarm cells at the bottom. So there's an issue that we've caught. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't know, 9, 10, 12 swarm cells. So that's interesting. That's not something I expected to find. But we have. So that's a whole new dilemma we'll have to deal with. And of course, this frame you can't just put anywhere. Oh, what am I going to do here? I'll put this one, just leave it in here. So this hive is obviously in the middle of preparing to swarm. So it's good we've come in to do this inspection. And they are not happy. Alright, so let's see. Alright, so this one's got lots of capped brood. Young larvae. We want to find a frame with open brood for our test. I've become a little sidetracked now with this swarm issue. Oh, it's always something. Now the other thing is we want to make sure that the queen is in here before we do anything as far as addressing those swarm cells, because if the queen has been killed or something has happened to her and the bees have decided to get rid of her and we take those swarm cells away, guess what? We're going to have a queenless colony. So we've also got to think about that. Lots of drones, more capped queen cells, brood. We've got tons of nectar that's falling out. We want to find that open brood. So we're going to have to split this hive in order to deter this swarming. So this video might have gone from Varroa check to swarm prevention really quick. Alright, so what do we've got here? We've got lots of pollen. Lots of pollen. I don't see any young brood. Lots of drone brood, lots of stuff needed to swarm. So this colony is on the brink of swarming. And they are not happy with me. Now the good thing about this is if you catch it in time, you could use all these queen cells for your benefit. I mean, if you know how to cage them and handle it, you could possibly either split this into 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 colonies, or you'd have 9 or 10 queens at $20 to $40 a pop. So it's not always a bad thing to find swarm queen cells. Lots of pollen, nectar. There's some brood. So this frame's got a lot of young bees on it. You also want to make sure the queen's not on the frame you're going to be using to check for Varroa. Last thing you want to do is shake her in your alcohol. God damn it. What I'm doing is trying to get the bees that I got wet in here. I had some of the alcohol spill out, but actually it's not a bad thing to have it in here because then it keeps the bees from taking off and crawling all over. So I actually think it's beneficial to have some sort of alcohol or something in here when you dump the bees. Alright, so we're going to try this again, because that didn't work out so good. I've seen other people just do it directly off the comb instead of trying to put it into a container. So this time we're going to try to take them right off the frame. Alright, let's see what we've got. got lots of young bees. I don't see the queen. Yeah, that worked much better. Much better. Alright, so now we've got the right amount of bees in our shaker. We're going to shake them up good. We're going to see what we get. So I suggest, from what I just observed, that you take them correctly off the comb. If you roll down the back of them, it actually rolls the bees into the cup. And that's one of the ones I actually read that I was going to attempt. But I figured this would be better for demonstration purposes, but it wasn't. Alright, so we're going to see what we've got. Alright. So it looks like I've got a couple in here. I think they say 3 per 300 is the limit. I believe. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, I definitely see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Varroa. So we're definitely going to treat this hive for Varroa. I hope you guys were able to learn something. I know it was a little spotty there with the process of getting the bees into the container. Like I said, my suggestion is you either put something in this container that will catch the bees, like I said, the alcohol itself, that way they're not able to fly out or crawl, or you just drag that down along the comb, in turn rolling the bees into your cup. So this hive's going to get treated, and it's also going to get split because, as you saw, we've got an issue with queen cells and swarming. Like I said, I hope you guys learned something. This is John with Upstate Buzzworthy Bees, and good luck to everybody, and make sure that you're keeping up on your husbandry and watching out for that Varroa, and obviously swarms. Thanks, guys. They are pissy.